2024 home price numbers are in, and we have reaction from real estate expert Rick Sadle with Keller Williams Realty and SadleRealEstate.com. Rick, good morning.
Good morning.
Now, we've talked about these numbers that came out last week. In fact, we got some January numbers, the lowest since the National Association of Realtors began tracking in 2001. First, your reaction about January sales.
Well, here's the thing. Real estate is pretty local, right? While that's what I've heard also, that across the U.S., we're having some pretty low numbers for the start of the year. Here in our Portland, Vancouver metro area, things are actually starting out a little better than last year. So, real estate's local.
Yeah, you're right. And maybe you could just speak a little bit about these national numbers and put them in perspective. When people hear these reports, your professionalism, boiling them down to what they really mean for, Portland, Southwest Washington, and Salem.
Yeah, let's first start with, like we talked about, real estate's local, but the national numbers are out for 2024 from Case Shiller. Like, they do a report every year, and it shows kind of what we expected to see, right? Which is, despite having another relatively slow year in terms of the number of houses sold, we sold just about 4 million houses, a little over, and that's versus 6 million houses in some of the stronger years. Across the U.S., average home price appreciation ended the year just under 4%. Now, like we talked about, that's average, right? Some cities like New York had over 7% and Chicago over 6%. But then there were also cities like Tampa that had a negative 1%, right? So it really does go to show that real estate is local.
Yeah, well said there. And then again, the Portland Metro, what did you hear, for 2024?
Yeah, in our neck of the woods, we ended the year at just under 3%, right, which is a little under the national average. And that's also opposed to our neighbor to the north, Seattle, that had 5.5%. But all in all, I think we're right where we should be in terms of following a trend that is sustainable.
Okay, I said sales. Of course, we're talking about home prices here. So the reports, do they give you any sense of what the next year should bring? Now that we know what 2024 did, does that help you forecast the next year?
It can. Sometimes it can, definitely. Assuming economic circumstances are similar to what they were the year before. For example, what I mean is, in terms of interest rates, we expect that our mortgage interest rates will go down a little bit this year, but not a lot. So taking at face value, this year may be a little bit better because interest rates will be a little bit better in terms of the number of units sold. But of course, like we just talked about, real estate is local here in the Pacific Northwest. The market is starting a little better than last year. So I suspect for us here locally, we'll sell more houses this year.
Last week, Rick, we hit the 5-year anniversary of COVID in Oregon. So here we are 5 years out, technically. Is it nice as an agent and a professional to see home sales stabilize a bit?
Yeah, for sure, right? The wild swings of the COVID years and post-COVID years, they make for some exciting times in real estate, but I feel like we could do with a little less excitement, a little more stability, right? People can count on the normal 3 to 5% appreciation rates that we've been having historically. Like, it's nice to be back there.
Yep. Nice to be with us. Rick, great perspective as always. Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
That's Rick Sadle, real estate expert with Keller Williams Realty and SadleRealEstate.com.